Hello everyone, welcome to my review of the Mandalorian Starfighter. This set is set 75316. It has 544 pieces and retails for $60 here in the US. It was released a few days ago on August 1st, along with the other sets in the LEGO Star Wars Summer lineup. And as you can see, just by the color scheme, it looks really good, and there are quite a few other pros about it. But it does have quite a hefty list of cons that I didn't expect coming into this build, that some of which I feel could have easily been remedied with a few extra pieces. Anyway, before we talk about the pros and cons of the build, let's go look at these three great minifigures that come with the set, all of which are exclusive. And starting off with my favorite minifigure in the set, this is Gar Saxon, and I think he just looks so good, especially with this new helmet mold with these horns on the back, resembling Darth Maul. But what I just love about this minifigure is how different he is compared to the generic Mandalorians like this guy, because his torso printing is so different. He has two plates on the sides and then one plate in the bottom middle, whereas the regular Mandalorians have one chest plate and one stomach plate. And in red and black, it just looks so cool as well. And I think LEGO and Disney did a really good job here, making him look different, yet still really cool at the same time. And here's the jetpack, and he does have back printing as well. And then there's the interesting Mandalorian blaster, which has more details than a standard pistol. And that's about it for him. Obviously, he has leg printing and foot printing like the rest of the figures in the set. And that's all to say about him. Now let's move on to the second most interesting character in the set, Bo-Katan. And here is Bo-Katan Kryze. I don't particularly like this minifigure so much, as she's just a necessary inclusion into the set. And I feel like a lot of people are going to like this figure since she helped Ahsoka and all. But this figure just doesn't look too good with her helmet on. I feel like the helmet printing just doesn't really look that good, because the printing quality is pretty poor on my specific minifigure. I'm not sure if this is a widespread issue or something, but let's see if we can focus there on her head. And the white printing is really soft around the edges and doesn't stop at these white black stripes like it's supposed to, like in the instructions. And also the visor printing is very soft as well down here under the visor. And overall, I found that the helmet printing doesn't really look good to me because of all those faults, and I just prefer to keep the hairpiece on. And I think the hairpiece looks fine. It suits Bo-Katan well, I think. And whoops, I did forget that Bo-Katan does have two of these blasters, but I forgot to put them on her, just like the other Mandalorians. And she has two faces, unlike the other Mandalorians. And she has a jetpack and back printing and everything else that the other Mandalorians have. And that's Bo-Katan. I don't particularly like this minifigure, but I know a lot of people will. And moving on to the last minifigure, who is probably the most bland minifigure. But even saying that is a stretch, because this is a very detailed minifigure. This is the generic Mandalorian Loyalist. Really, there's nothing to say about him since we covered Bo-Katan and Gar Saxon. He's just a scaled down version of Bo-Katan with some war-torn armor and some things that are just a little more simple than Bo-Katan, not as shiny. But I did remember to put the two blasters on him. And he has a jetpack and everything else and all the great printing. And since we've covered the two more detailed characters, there's nothing special about this character. But that being said, this is still an amazing minifigure. Now let's get on to the actual build, since now we know all the minifigures are amazing. Okay, here's the actual ship. First, I'll show all the features, advertised and non-advertised. Then I'll give some criticisms about those features, and also some praise to some of them, because, some of them are actually good features. Anyway, first, starting out at the cockpit, there is some sticker detailing on the sides and the top, and there are some lines on them. This is nice extra detail that was completely unnecessary, but I'm glad LEGO did it. Anyway, here is Bo-Katan and the Mandalorian Loyalist. They both fit in the ship, which is nice. The ship has space for both of the figures, but no extra space. That's a little bit of disappointment. Anyway, there are no studs in the cockpit, which is my biggest criticism for it. I think a lot of people will like this, but personally, I don't like having no studs. I feel like they rattle around too much, and I just like them being in one place in the ship, and being easy to take out is not always necessarily a good thing. You know, if you turn the ship upside down, they may rattle and fall out, which is really annoying. But anyway, that can be a pro or a con. You can decide for yourself, but for me, it is a con. Another thing I would like to mention about this cockpit section is that these non-actually shooting cannons do look really good. They're in the correct position down there, and they look really good. And moving on to the actual shooting projectiles, here is a spring-loaded shooter, and it works really well, and it fires off magnificently, just like any other spring-loaded shooter. On the back of the ship, there is not a rotating, but rotating, but not swiveling, just rotating, not changing angle, just a cannon that rotates in a circle for some reason. This is honestly a very useless feature. I don't exactly know why this is. It's probably canon. It's probably what the cannon actually does in Rebels and the Clone Wars. But play-wise, I probably would have preferred a tilting cannon that goes up and down or side to side. But anyway, moving on from that, there are 2 thrusters on either side. They're yellow, they look really good, and there are no complaints about that. There was a little ramp. I'm not sure if this was intentional or not, but it probably was intentional. They just don't show it on the box because it's not an advertised feature. But it sort of acts like a little ramp that I guess the figures could go down on. And then the landing gear, or the lack thereof, I guess. Here's how the ship looks landed. Now, that doesn't look very good, does it? That's because there's nothing underneath this bottom part in the front. This really doesn't look good, and if you just put a piece under there, it straightens out and it's parallel with the ground, and it actually looks good. So I feel like Lego could have done the easy thing and just put a brick there. I don't know why they didn't, and then just level it out down there with another brick down there. And these bricks are the most useless bricks ever. These bricks up here don't do anything whatsoever. They don't even touch the ground in the landed position. So I don't know what Lego was thinking when they put those bricks there. But, oh, my light fell. My second light fell. Okay, my lights are back up, so sorry about that. Don't know why my lights have been falling today. They've done it a lot when I'm shooting this video. But anyway, back to what I was talking about. Yeah, the landing gear is really bad, and that's just a big con. Next, the second biggest con is the integration of the stud shooters into the cockpit. Lego wanted to add a second projectile system besides just the amazing spring-loaded shooters. So they added stud shooters, and you can't even access them when you're in this main flying position, which is just such a disappointment. They're in such a terrible position that they're unusable. The only time you can use them is in the landed position. For example, if just one wing's up, you can just press it down. But why would you need to shoot stuff when you're landed? I don't know. Or if you just tilt the cockpit like this when you're flying upright like that. It's not a very ergonomic position like this. Like, you have to use one hand to carry the ship at the back, and then you have to put your hand around on each side, and that is just such a hassle and not ergonomically friendly at all. This is a terrible place to put stud shooters. I don't know why Lego's cramming them into every set that they can. They don't work well, and they don't add to the set at all. They're just hard to access, and if you try to, you might drop the ship or something. They're just not well thought out. Anyway, another thing is just the general mechanism here. The actual rotation of the cockpit, it's not good at all for me. Because you have to rotate it before you even fly the ship. You have to rotate it like this, and then fly the ship. You can't do what you see in Rebels, or probably the Clone Wars too, where the wings just rotate around the cockpit. I feel like they could have integrated something better here. I feel like they could have somehow, like with an axle or something, instead of using a ball joint, they could have used whoops, I gotta focus on the ship here. they could have used an axle from this spinning, rotating turret to this cockpit piece, because they both turn, so why not connect them with an axle? So I don't know why LEGO didn't do that. I feel like a good mock builder could do that. Anyway, those are the big cons of the set, but I feel like the one thing that might make up for it all is just the overall color scheme and how good this looks as a Mandalorian helmet. As you can see, there's the visor piece here and the nose mouth section here where the cockpit is. It just looks so good, and I feel like if you're going to display this set either in the landed position or flying like this, I feel like it's gonna look fine. It's really easy to just put, you know, a brick like this under the ship. I mean, if you'll focus on that, just under here where there's bad landing gear. If you just put a brick under there, the landing gear will be fine, and you can really make the ship look good. And you could easily remedy the stud shooter thing. Just have two of these slopes and just round it off. Don't have stud shooters. These spring-loaded shooters work well. The cannons look good, and everything is good about the set, except for the rotation thing, which is only for play. And obviously the stud shooters and how this cannon falls off when you rotate it. But aside from those small little things, I feel like for display, this is the great set. For play, not really so much, but the color scheme is great, and I feel like a lot of people will enjoy this set, and obviously the minifigures.